welcome to This or Something Greater. I am feeling very optimistic today, which feels amazing to say out loud as I continue towards a life lived full of love and fulfillment. I'm slowly starting to get an understanding of what that may look like and feel like. I'm particularly excited about my video today. I'm getting one step closer to turning intention into action without fear, without pressure, just peace and love. Last week, I made a video about my life list, which was a huge list of things I wanted to get out of life, no matter big or small. Things that felt true and deeply me to the core, things that sparked something inside of me and connected to my essence instead of the need for a comparison or achievement or obligation. If you haven't seen that video yet, I definitely recommend watching that. I'll link it up here because this video is going to directly tie to that and expand upon it a little bit more. So that life list came from the fact that I realized I kind of hated my life. Instead of trying to judge that and say something's wrong with me, I wanted to look at my life differently. And I had this whole metaphor where I would view my life as a piece of art, as a creation, and I am the artist. I created this channel as a way to take responsibility for my life, also recognize that I have a say in the life that I'm actively creating right now. To recognize that if I don't like my life, I have the power to change it. I wanted that change to come from love, not fear, not panic, not the need for approval from others, but love and peace and an ultimate connection to who I am and my authentic self. So if you're new here, this is a space about slowing down, growing gently, and building a life that feels purposeful, peaceful, and real. So I like to start every video with an intention. The intention for today's video is finding areas of long-term focus. No urgency, no deadlines, just long-term focus that builds a sustainable and fulfilling life. So let's take a deep breath and move on with that intention. So after I made my life list, I felt a couple different emotions. I was super excited because I was cultivating a life that had meaning and fulfillment. I also recognized my life list was getting pretty long and it felt quite overwhelming and I didn't really know what to do next. Seeing everything laid out in front of me kind of made me realize that desire alone isn't enough. I need some type of action plan to make this life of my dreams. If I truly want to make and create this life and not just have it on a piece of paper, I need to find a way to go towards these goals, but without panic and rush that I typically get when I'm trying to achieve something. This is where I know myself really well. When I care about something, I tend to go all in. The type A person comes out. I make deadlines, timelines. I have these list of expectations and goals that are super rigid. I ultimately start sprinting towards this finish line that I've just created for myself. And for a while it's productive until it's not. I burn out. I come to resent the thing that I want. I crash and burn. I go from 0 to 100 back to 0. And then I feel like I'm failing because I can't sustain that level of intensity. And I realized that even though I feel as if I'm moving towards my achievement, that movement isn't coming from a place of love. It's coming from a fear. It's coming from an impatience to get to where I am because I want the feeling that I have deemed that goal will give me. And if I don't do everything right in this moment, then I feel like I'll fall behind. I really didn't want my desires on this list to feel like an escape from my current life. I didn't want to feel like I can't love and be where I am right now while working on these desires. Because ultimately, no goal, no relationship, no achievement is going to rescue me from my current suffering. And I realized that trying to do that only creates more suffering in my current moment. So instead of asking, how can I accomplish this, like I normally do, I wanted to ask a gentler question. How can I cultivate a relationship with my desires without losing myself? And funnily enough, the answer to that question for me was another list. Well, actually two. The word goal has always felt very heavy to me. I feel like in my head it implies timelines, it implies success and failure. You either meet the goal or you don't. It implies that if you don't get there fast enough, something's wrong. It implies something that is short term and is super action based. So I wanted to choose a different word, and I kept coming back to the word focus. For me, focus doesn't always require achievement. It's just where I'm putting my attention currently. It doesn't demand results, it just asks for my attention. When something's my focus, I'm allowed to be curious about it. I'm allowed to learn about myself through it as well. I'm allowed to explore it and move towards it slowly. I realized that the word focus shifts my attention from the end goal to the present experience. And to me, that feels so much more aligned with living a life through love. So I started creating just a list of goals that I would like to focus on this year. It's not necessarily a list of things I want to complete. It's not a checklist of things. It's just a list of things I want to orient myself towards this year. And some of the things on this list are big. They're very big. Some of them include running a marathon, starting a business, opening an Etsy store, building my personal belief system, getting a cosmetology license, becoming conversational in 2 languages, learning how to sew, taking more pride in my appearance, becoming a published author, having a healthy relationship with food, falling head over heels in love, learning graphic design, learning piano and how to read music, working towards financial freedom. Obviously, some of these may not happen this year. Honestly, most of these may take many years. And that's okay, because the goal of this isn't completion, it's direction. I really wanted to answer the question, where do I want my energy to flow? I'm not really asking myself when I look at this list to do more, to be more. I'm reminding myself, this is what matters to me. This is what I want. And even seeing this list together, it still felt super overwhelming. This is a lot of things to focus on in 1 year. So I made another list. Instead of focusing on a whole year, which is a long time, and a short time also, I decided to break it into intervals. And I was trying to figure out what length of interval I wanted to do. And for me, I decided on about 4 months. The number really isn't that important. It can be 1 month, it can be 3 months. It doesn't really matter. For me, it was just important that the horizon became a little bit smaller. And when it does become smaller, it allows my nervous system to relax a lot more, and it doesn't feel as impending. I'm not trying to check all of these things off at once. I'm not trying to live my whole life at once. I'm just asking, where do I want to give my attention right now? So I chose a smaller list of things I wanted to do within this interval from my yearly focus. The other things on the list that I didn't choose definitely matter. It's just where I wanted to spend my time and energy. So for my first interval, I decided to focus on running a marathon, starting a business, opening an Etsy store, building up my belief system, becoming a published author, taking pride in my appearance, and falling head over heels in love. Again, I do not expect to complete all of these in 4 months. Some of them are definitely going to take years. But the goal is to start small and simply have a path to direct my love and energy. As much as I didn't want timelines and I didn't want checklists, I still am a very type A person. And I did want to break down the goals into something a little bit more palatable. So once I had each of my interval focuses, I broke them down into kind of 8 different steps. These are not deadlines or things that have to happen. They're just jumping points from one point to the other. There's no timeline on how long I need to be at each stage. It's just a way to kind of understand how I can move from one stage to the next. I can do it when it feels right and when I am compelled to. And, for some of the things, the steps felt really sequential. It's you do this and then you do this and then you do this. Like for running the marathon, I had a pretty kind of more sequential list of steps. First you run a 5K, then a 10K, then a half, then a marathon. One wouldn't really necessarily come before the other. There's a little bit more of an order. But for things that require a little bit more creativity and a self-expression, these steps don't really have to be linear. Not everything moves in a straight line, and that's okay. I also want to be clear that just because I have these steps doesn't mean I have the whole journey figured out. It's kind of more of a just jumping off point. Sometimes I've gone in a totally different direction because that's what feels right. And I'm becoming okay with that. This doesn't have to be something, again, that I have to check off everything. It's just something that brings my attention to what I want to be doing in this present moment. I feel like for me, I've been working slowly on this for about a month, and this feels a little bit different because I'm not really putting pressure on myself, not asking myself to hurry. And there is a big part of me that is still so ingrained in, oh, you didn't meet this goal, or you didn't do what you needed to do this week, or blah blah blah. And I keep coming back to that part of myself and saying, I am moving towards my future. I'm living my life right now. As much as I want to be somewhere else, I need to take in that I'm in this moment. If there's pain and suffering in this moment, these goals are not going to get rid of that. I think for me, I'm always so focused on the big actionable goals that I forget that small, consistent steps are the ones that lead to lasting change. I don't want to burn out this time, and I don't want to come to resent myself even more because I am not disciplined enough, or I am doomed to fail everything I start. It's tough to stick with something for a long period of time, and I think I have a fear that if I don't rush through it, I won't achieve the goal. And so I'm slowly proving to myself every day that I can stick with something, that I can do things softly, that I don't have to bully myself into achievement. I also really wanted to add a little bit of love along the way. I decided to add a reward for each step. I didn't do this as a temptation, you know, those like hacks where it's like, if you read this many pages, you get an M&M or something. I didn't really do it for that reason. I just kind of really wanted to have a little bit more focus on the journey and not the end goal. I wanted to reward myself throughout the journey and not just at the end, which is normally what I do. I really wanted to tell myself that I see you. I see the steps you're taking, and that effort matters. Even if it's not the end goal, it is still 1, 2, 3, 4 steps forward. I really just didn't want to have to wait till the end to be proud. I want to be proud every day. Every time I get 1% better. And I think a lot of times I've only had celebration after success. And I'm trying to reinvent what success looks like. I think a lot of times success can also be really soft. It doesn't have to be loud. It can be something as simple as taking a moment and choosing a different path. That is super successful to me. A shift in mindset, slowly but surely. A smile on my face when I wake up instead of dread that comes with, you know, a new day. It can be really soft things that I don't have to post on Facebook or Instagram or share the world. It can be something internal. I also kind of want to talk about my relationship with rest, how I feel like sometimes rest can only come after achievement, that I have to, you know, sprint, and then once I get there, then I can rest. And that's where the burnout comes from. Rest does not have to be earned through success. I have to keep telling myself that. My body needs it. I need to rest. And a lot of times, if I need that rest, there is a reason. I think this has been really big in my running journey. I want to do another workout. I want to keep moving forward. But if I don't allow my body to rest and adapt to what I'm doing, I get injured. I'm actively working against all the work I'm doing. I want to come back to today's intention, which is finding areas of long-term focus. I wanted that word long-term because I want this to be a marathon, not a sprint. The small steps every day that slowly get me to where I want to be. I'm really trying to have a positive relationship with my desires and not let it define my worth, especially in the current state I'm in. I want to be able to move forward without completely abandoning myself and still loving and caring for myself, to grow without rushing and to create without fear. And I think that's what love-based action looks like. So, as a reminder, there's no rush. Growth isn't a race, and life isn't a race either. I deserve a life that feels loving and peaceful and fulfilling. I don't want one that's built off of pressure and exhaustion. In my next video, I'm going to be exploring a planner that I custom made for myself to allow myself to have this experience through love-based actions. Until then, my lovelies, I'm wishing you this or something greater. Bye.